Everyone out of the coach. This is a holdup. The following ads have been accused of trying to steal your money. Welcome again to Online Philosophy. This week we will talk about the Sophists, not the Sophists, and there is a distinction between the two. The Sophists are the intellectual descendants of the pre-Socratic Sophists. The Sophists were wise men, proto-scientists who mixed science with philosophy. They were looking for the origin of life, a common source. But they were also concerned with ethics, with virtue. The Sophists, on the other hand, rejected the wisdom of the Sophists, perhaps because of their contradictory answers as to the nature of the universe. The Sophists turned from natural science to examination of human affairs, and they threatened Greek society. They undermined religion, they undermined social order, they undermined government authority. The ancient world was ruled by mythology. To them, the gods created man. To them, the gods made the laws. To them, the gods established governments. But the Sophists rejected the gods. They undermined mythological systems by suggesting natural explanations for previously assumed divine causation. The threat was that the gods were thought to supply basic needs. Dionysus gave us wine, Poseidon gave us water, Demeter gave us bread, and to dishonor the gods was to displease them and thus remove their blessing or bring their curse. The threat was that the gods were thought to authorize government. The gods empowered the king to rule. To disobey the government was to disobey the gods. The Sophists taught that man invented the gods to explain the unknown, and the government perpetuated the myth to control the masses. The Sophists were a threat to society because of their teaching on arete. Arete means excellence, or the ability to manage your affairs and the affairs of the state. Up to the 5th century BC, it was believed that only the aristocracy possessed arete. Can you see the word arete in aristocracy? I hope so. I can. Arete was thus inborn, and only the nobility possessed it. But the Sophists taught that arete results from training, not birth. So the threat is the aristocracy is not the only ones qualified to rule. A dynasty might not be the best course for a nation, and even a slave could rule if he was taught well. The Sophists' teaching about civilization was a threat to society. They said that civilization is a human invention, and man is a product of nature. The laws do not come from the gods, and natural explanations disprove the gods. But the laws come from two sources. They come from nature, like gravity, and man must obey these at his peril. The other source is human invention. For instance, traffic laws. In America, you must drive on the right side of the road. In England, you must drive on the wrong side of the road. These laws are changeable. So who's to say who is correct? Thus, man does not have to obey human laws. Their teaching about skepticism was a threat to society. Skepticism means a doubting state of mind, and there are three forms. Phenomenalism says we can only know what is in our own mind. Empiricism says we can only know what we know with our senses. And relativism says the truth depends on individual circumstances. So let me summarize the threats. If rulers must have arete, but arete is learned, not inborn, the aristocracy has no legitimate claim to rule. Even a learned slave could justly depose the king. If the laws of civilization are of human invention, men are not morally bound to obey them. They can establish their own personal standards and change them at will. How then will society keep order? If men are encouraged to be skeptics, doubting everything, who is the authority who orders society? If the Sophists have their way, people will pay taxes only if they wish to voluntarily contribute to government projects. Why pay for roads in the empire that you never travel? Murder would be a personal choice, not a violation of law. Anarchy would tear society apart. Yet the teachings of the Sophists were more dangerous than these threats to society. Their doctrine threatened the character of humankind.